Good evening and welcome to the first Monday night of the year 2021, where we have an opportunity to come together to really work on putting together intention and backing it up with action and strategy so that this year can be just an exceptional year. We want to build on everything we've learned to this point. And we want to really apply these strategies, practices, philosophies, and principles so that this can be an exceptional, exceptional year. I want to start off by saying that just to be in community is the number one strategy that leads us into success with our intention. While we must set our intentions from our heart center, it's an experience that we have unto ourselves, and we'll talk about it. Being in community, in a supportive community, in a loving community, with what I would call a high vibration community, it sends the likelihood of us succeeding way up, way up. Okay, so I'd like to ask for a couple of things, and then we're going to tune in together, and we'll get set. The first thing I'd like to ask for is your attention. I'd like to ask that you turn off your phone so that for the next hour and 10 minutes, we can really be engaged with each other and get the most out of our time together. Okay, so actually turn the phone off. It's incredibly empowering, and it'll be one of the strategies for this year that will help you to get some things done. The second thing is, I'd like to ask you to if you have a journal and pen or just some paper and pen, really always good to come to these webinars with a journal and pen so that ideas may come to you while we're here together, and they will be important for you to write down so that you can look back on that journal and return to it for inspiration. Who knows, I may say something that triggers a thought or a memory or something that's going to be useful moving forward. And you may want to write that down and look back upon it. So that's a best practice for tonight. And then finally, I'd like to ask for you to stay the entire time. So we're going to be going about 1 hour from now, just an hour straight through together. And I'd like to ask that you stay the whole time so that we can have this complete experience together. I am going to present an opportunity for you in the last 5 or 10 minutes of our time together tonight. And it's an opportunity that will bring an incredible year to you if you choose to get involved with this opportunity. And we'll talk about that when we get there. So if you can, please stay till the end. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin this year on the right note. I'd like to ask you to bring the palms face up, and you can bring the thumb and forefinger together and just place those relaxed onto your knees. And I'd like you to sit up nice and tall and allow the eyes to close now. And draw your attention inside. And take a deep inhale. And a full exhale. Allow the energetic residue of the day to drop away now. Deep inhale. And a full exhale. Come into an awareness of your breath, an awareness of your heart. Deep inhale. Full exhale. And come into an awareness of your desire to live a great life. A life beyond addiction. A life of purpose and fulfillment. Deep inhale. A full exhale. And tap into your desire, your heartfelt desire to learn and to grow, to connect and to love, and to have that sense of presence and connection, which leads to gratitude, peace, and joy. Deep inhale. And a full exhale. Come with the eyes open. Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to 2021. We've already got about 500 people in the room here. And I just want to reflect that when we did this last year, I think we had, 1/4 of that number of people. Now, you could say that we had a really good year here at Recovery 2.0, or you could say that we all had a really, really tough year, and we would like to learn the lessons that this year provided. We'd like to move forward. We'd like to go through to the other side. And so congratulations on being here and on taking the step to take a look at some strategies and what we'll actually do. So the preface here is simply that I ask people who ask me, or I write blogs, or I communicate in video, that to make New Year's resolutions is quite often not a good idea. And there's this sort of unfortunate day, which is come into nomenclature now in our society, and it's called Quitter's Day. Can you believe this? Quitter's Day. So Quitter's Day is the day in January when most everybody has given up their New Year's resolutions. Would you care to guess what day that is in January? The day when almost everybody, like 90% of the people that did a resolution on the 1st, have given up by this point. Well, someone put in here January 21st, and I'm telling you that last year or the year before, it was January 21st. And things must be getting worse because National Quitters Day this year, or maybe it's International Quitters Day, is January the 12th. I mean, we make it 11 days, and then that's it, and we're out. So this whole talk tonight is in response to that we can set intentions. We can make resolutions. And there's an art and a science to it, to not just making the right ones, but also seeing them through. So that's what tonight's all about. And my intention with this talk is I want to give you something that's immediately applicable for you. That when you leave here tonight, you'll say, okay, this was a takeaway, this was a takeaway, this was a takeaway. I can immediately use those practices, philosophies, and strategies. So that's my hope, okay? So if you can, just for a moment, let's all stay off the chat bar and let's really focus in on the first couple of ideas. Okay, here we go. The very first thing I want us to consider in making resolutions and setting our intentions for the year ahead, or for any amount of time, is the law of expansion and contraction. Please write that down. The law of expansion and contraction. Now, the story goes that I was in a yoga studio with my wife, Kia, and this was an Ashtanga yoga studio. And for those of you who are not familiar, Ashtanga yoga is a particular approach to yoga, which has 5 very difficult levels, 5 levels, okay? The first level is where everybody will begin, and then if you dedicate yourself for 20 years, is what they say it takes to reach the 5th level or the 5th series. So here I am in this Ashtanga yoga studio, and I'm looking at this woman in the corner of the studio who has a gorgeous practice of yoga. And I'm going to put this woman at about sort of 70, maybe 75 years old, is what she appears to me. Very strong, very graceful. And I'm watching her do the first series. The reason I know that is because I'm doing the first series and I'm familiar with it. So the teacher of the class walks over to me. He's a young man, maybe in his 30s or something, and he says, "I notice you're looking at my mom." And I said, "Is that your mom?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Wow, she's got such a beautiful practice." And he said, "Well, in my lifetime, I have watched my mom go from first series to second series to third series to fourth to fifth. And he said, then I watched her go from fifth to fourth to third to second, and second back to first. And now in her body, at this age, this is the series that she practices." And I recognized in that very moment, it was a profound teaching. What he was teaching me was the law of expansion and contraction. In times of expansion, we're able to move forward. We're able to take risks. We're able to learn and to grow in big ways, in expansive ways. We approach the world with great expansion. And so for the first part of this woman's life, she was expanding into deeper and deeper yoga postures and deeper series. And that was a time of expansion for her. She was able to obey those times of expansion. They allowed her to move forward in an expansive way. Are you with me so far? You can tell me in the chat bar. Do you get what I'm saying so far? Yes? Just going to give you guys okay. Getting a lot of yeses. Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. The next part of her life, she was reaching a contractive part. Contraction is not bad or good. Expansion is not bad or good. It's just the energy of your relationship with your body, your mind, and the world around you. And so what this woman realized that her yoga, the appropriate approach, was to go from fifth series when she finally made it there, down to fourth series, and then down to third, second, and then finally down to first. That was appropriate. And that was power. That was authenticity. That was honesty. And that's where her strength and her grace and her elegance was coming from. Because when I looked at this woman in the corner, I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen so much strength and so much elegance in an elder like that. It was really, really beautiful to see. So she had been able to obey the law of expansion and contraction. Now, throughout our lives, throughout all of our lives, we have periods of expansion and contraction. I would like to ask you now, do you believe that the year 2020 was a period of expansion or contraction? Was the universe asking us to expand? Or maybe the universe was asking us to play a little defense and be and respect and obey the law of contraction? Yes, everybody's got it. Okay? It was a moment of contraction. Why? Because we had to pay attention to things that were challenging for us. We had to pay attention to a health threat. We had to pay attention to different dynamics between us and our loved ones. We had really big fears and concerns. We had a lot of emotion coming up. So this was a moment of contraction, and the people who had the most incredible year in 2020, guess what they did? They stayed home, did their yoga, did their meditation, studied online, went out on walks and hikes by themselves, connected with their loved ones with a mask on and separated so that they could maintain the meditation of the pandemic, the meditation that the pandemic was asking us to obey, so that we could just go through that in a way that was without resistance and without fear and without tremendous negativity. I know so many people like this who say, this was the greatest year of my life. It forced me to slow down. It showed me that I'm not in control. I learned so many lessons. Why did they learn those lessons and have a great year when it was such a challenging and difficult year for other people? Okay? Because they were able to obey the law of contraction, that they were able to play defense. They were able to change, and they didn't get into argument, and they didn't get into resistance, and they didn't get into all the problems and the fears. They lived in the solution to that moment. And this is a very, 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 very relevant lesson for us to learn as we go ahead into 2021, because we're not back to what we think is normal. We're still in a very challenging situation with different kinds of concerns. And so what I'm asking you to do, what I'm bringing to your attention, is this very important concept of be aware of when the universe is allowing you to expand and when the universe is asking you to contract a little bit. Remember, expansion is not good or bad. Contraction is not good or bad. Being in harmony with what the universe is asking is very, very skillful and very good, sometimes difficult, but it always brings about the best results. So as we're looking forward, let's keep our mind on the law of expansion and contraction. So that's the first concept tonight. Okay, now, whenever we want to do anything, I'm going to present the teachings of the 3 Ds. The 3 Ds. The 3 Ds are desire, direction, devotion or discipline. We'll come to that. Devotion or discipline. We're going to get to that in a moment. Now, please write this down. The 3 Ds: desire, direction, discipline, or devotion. Okay? Whenever you want to complete any goal in your life at any time, you're going to need all 3 of these things. Now, let's look at desire first. Desire in spiritual circles often gets a bad rap because in Buddhist thought and philosophy and many Eastern philosophies, we are told or we understand that desire is the root of all suffering. And that's not exactly true. A more accurate way to present that teaching, where suffering comes from, is attachment to desire is where suffering comes from. So what we actually need to fuel our effort, we need that inspiration, and that desire comes into our mind and body, into the system. It links up with our spirit, which is that relationship that we have with the unseen, with the consciousness around us. And that becomes heartfelt desire. Please write it down. Heartfelt desire. Okay. Now, if we have heartfelt desire, that's going to be foundational, right? Like, we will have a very difficult time completing a goal, seeing an intention or a resolution through if we don't have a heartfelt desire. One very important side note on this: from major spiritual teachings, major scriptures throughout the last several thousand years have taught us this lesson. Whatever we pursue, it has to be from our heart. It can't be from somebody else's heart. And it is said, for example, in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most important scriptures of all time, one of the most seminal yogic scriptures, it says, it is much better to pursue your own heartfelt desire and fail than it is to succeed following somebody else's desire for you. So when we get into our intention setting, we want to be very, very clear on this point. This can make the difference between your success and happiness and contentedness and stress, fear, anxiety, and worry. So we want to be really clear. What is our heartfelt desire? So if you have a goal, there's three main goals that people have any given year, right? So it's exercise more is usually one, or change this body somehow, right? Lose weight goes under that heading too. Get out of debt is a big one, right? These are the main sort of things that people think of. Most people are like, oh, well, I need more money, I need more health, I need more energy, I'm sick and I have to get unsick, this kind of thing. So if you have a heartfelt desire, like let's say, I'd like to exercise more. That's not a very compelling intention in the sense of it's not so specific. Because what you want to really get to is why. Why do I want to exercise more? What will happen? What will happen for me? And it could be, I want to experience more mobility in my body, more strength in this body, more vitality and immunity. And so I'm going to spend time this year really working on building those things. Now that's more specific, more intentional, and that sounds a little bit more like a heartfelt desire, like, wow, I really want to build my immune system. What a great intention, by the way, for this year, right? I really want to build my immunity up. So if I have the heartfelt desire to do that, that's foundational, that's great. Now, I've had that heartfelt desire before, and I've not had success with it. Or I've had success to a certain point, but I want to take it to the next level, and I've never been to the next level. Well, then you need the second D, and the second D is direction. How do you get it? You reach out. You reach out to a teacher. A teacher is simply somebody who has been somewhere that you desire to go, and who can wisely, skillfully, lovingly guide you to get there, to go through the challenges and the difficulties that they had to come through to get to that breakthrough point. So once you have your heartfelt desire, I want to really build my immunity this year, I want to build my vitality this year, now one needs to find out how to do that. You need the right direction. So you can find coaches, you can be a part of a community, you can be a part of a gym or some kind of membership or something that helps you to move forward step by step, day by day, to move towards the success each day of that particular goal. So you get the direction. Now, direction doesn't necessarily have to come in the form of a human being. Sometimes it can come in the form of like a video or the written word, scripture of some kind. You can study and you can learn quite a bit by, going onto the web or watching videos or reading books or listening to podcasts and listening to books. So we have lots of options where we can get direction from. I personally have always found it valuable to speak directly to a person who has been where I want to go. You could look at the example of recovery. Let's say somebody in this room is interested in staying sober. Like their big thing for this year is, you know what? I relapsed last year, or I haven't gotten sober yet, and I know that I really want to put down the alcohol, or I want to put down drugs, or I've been binging and I want to work on my relationship with food, or acting out sexually, and I want to work on that piece of my life, or the money piece, or etc. Whatever the addictive tendency is, it's a wonderful thing to have a heartfelt desire to want to find out what life is like beyond that addiction. So in order to do that, if you don't know how to do that, you've got to get direction. Okay, so that's the second D. First, you have that heartfelt desire, and then you need direction on how to realize that desire. And then that brings us to the third D. So the third D, we'll just start with discipline. Now, discipline is not usually a word that so many people love. We don't really love that word because we associate discipline with doing something that we don't want to do. So someone says, wow, you're such a disciplined person. They often see that person like going through some kind of regimen, or training for a marathon. Wow, you ran every day. And so discipline carries this energy with it as a word of that person, was training for a marathon and they hated it every day, but they still showed up anyway. And that, of course, is not what discipline is at all. The root of the word discipline is disciple. And to be a disciple is simply to be a good student, to follow the direction which came out of your heartfelt desire. So you have your heartfelt desire, foundational. You get the directions that you need and the support that you need to move forward. And then you apply yourself as a student to apply the direction that you've just learned. Now we're getting into the idea of consistency. So discipline and consistency are very close cousins. Now, what most people that I work with in recovery over these last 30 years have said, I just have such a hard time with consistency. I just can't finish things. I start so many things, but I don't finish. Can any of you guys relate to that idea? I want to hear from you right now. Are you with me so far? Do you relate to this idea of starting things but not finishing? I'm guessing since you're here, you probably do. Okay. Some of you are like, yes, that's totally me. Right. Okay. Good. I appreciate the feedback. I'll keep asking every now and then to just make sure that we're together on the same page. Okay. So we're gonna investigate how we can develop consistency right here, right tonight. But I want to make sure you got the teaching of the 3 Ds first. So it's a heartfelt desire, and then you get the direction that you need, and then you apply that direction in a disciplined way, which means you're a student of this new path that you're following. Wonderful. Okay. Now, I want to add in that word devotion. Devotion is a lovely word. People like it a lot more than discipline. And so what I like to say is discipline plus love. Discipline plus love equals devotion. In other words, let's say in our example of wanting to build our immunity or our vitality or wanting to stay sober, one day at a time, we take a few simple actions and we're consistent with those actions. We could be reading out of the big book or some kind of Recovery 2.0 book or any spiritual book that helps us to stay in the right frame of mind. Maybe we get to meetings or we speak to our sponsor or we speak to a therapist, whatever our protocols are. We're doing our disciplines each day, small things each day. And what happens over time, and sometimes very quickly, we start to fall in love with what we're doing. Much like a person who gets some momentum around training as a runner or training in yoga, when your body starts to open and tension really starts to go out of the physical frame and your body starts to heal and you've been doing yoga every day, it's so gratifying. You want to do more of it. You've started to fall in love with it. So it's no longer like hard, like a discipline. Your discipline has combined itself with the molecule of love. They've come together to form devotion. And now you're devoted. Now you're devoted to this new path. And really, really good things happen. Okay. So let's talk about consistency. Since so many people have trouble with it, I want you to write this down. In the 8-week course that I give in our membership and beyond our membership every year, I usually quote this particular quotation. Please write this down. Small things done consistently in strategic places over time brings progress. I'll do it again. Small things done consistently in strategic places over time brings progress. Okay, now that is a philosophy, a strategy that has made an enormous difference in my life and in the life of so many other people. Why do we have a problem with consistency? Really, three reasons. Three reasons. One, and this relates directly to this, we try to take on too much. We set an intention or a goal or a resolution that is unrealistic. And before we can get any momentum, it's just simply too big. Our mental approach is unskillful because we've taken on more than we can mentally handle. And so what happens is that thing of paralysis. I'm so overwhelmed by what I have to do that I'm not even going to continue. And I don't want to be in this sort of the stress of having to do this every day. You know what I mean? So we set ourselves up right there for a failure. So as an example, if you start thinking about running a marathon, it's daunting. Now, you can get involved in training for a marathon and take it a day at a time and see how it goes. Why not run 2 or 3 miles a day for a little while and start to see how that feels in the body before you decide, I'm running that marathon? Now, some of you will say, well, you know, I'm the kind of person who just needs to decide I'm going to run the marathon. And I'll say, okay, you know yourself, good. And you still will have to take small steps done consistently in strategic places over time, and that will bring you to your goal. So as we're setting our intentions, we want to keep in mind, take small steps, do small things, and you'll end up in incredible places. One of the great mathematical sort of examples of this is, you may have heard this one where you start with a penny, and for 1 month, you just double what you have. You start with a penny. On the second day, you have 2 pennies. On the third day, 4 pennies. On the fourth day, 8 pennies. On the fifth day, 16 pennies, and so on. So by the 30th day, you have over $1 million. And so it's just this slow sort of progress over time. And that's what we're looking for. Now, what else causes us to be inconsistent? So overwhelm or paralysis is one of the things. Second thing, self-doubt. I don't believe in myself. Therefore, why even bother? Now, this goes back to the 3 Ds. If you struggle with self-doubt, you don't believe in yourself, you don't have a lot of confidence yet, just simply because you haven't built it up and proven to yourself that you can do small things in strategic places over time, then you want to go back to the 3 Ds. Is it your heartfelt desire? Okay. How about direction? What is your plan? If you're looking for direction on how to run a marathon, or better yet for us, how to stay sober, but the direction you're getting is, okay, well, go to a meeting, read this out of the book, and don't drink. Okay, that might not be the right direction. The right direction might be, we're going to speak every day, and every time you feel a negative thought about yourself, I want you to pick up the phone and call me or somebody else in recovery so that we can make sure that you understand that you're in a process of proving to yourself that you can do something. You just haven't had enough time to prove it to yourself yet. You might be needing direction for how you can overcome your self-doubt so that you can then apply the direction of how to actually get sober. Those two things will be linked. Paralysis can stop us in our tracks. Self-doubt can stop us in our tracks. What's another thing? Confusion. Let's say we get some direction, but we don't really fully understand the direction. We have a heartfelt desire, but we don't really fully understand it. For me, that's going to end my process. I know if I don't really understand what I'm doing, that's going to stop me in my tracks. Okay? And then finally, the fourth thing that gets in our way, the why. And this goes back to heartfelt desire. You got to have a strong why. You got to have a strong why. You need a reason that has weight. And if you have that reason that has weight, and then you get good instruction, and you apply that instruction, you will find yourself successful over time. But you just have to go slowly. You have to go slowly. Okay? You guys with me so far? Everybody with me so far? Are we on the same page? Okay? You guys are rocking. If you're getting this to this point, then we're going to continue on. Okay, beautiful. All right. So, next. Here are the philosophies and the strategies to overcome the things that will get in the way of your commitment. Okay. First thing, I said it at the beginning of the call, the number one strategy. And how did we miss this? How did we miss this as a society? Truly, the number one most important strategy for setting goals and reaching them is to do it together with somebody else. Do it in community. If you want to get sober, if you want to not be in a constant relapse cycle, if you want to expand your mind, your capabilities, your intuition, your immunity, your vitality, you got to be in a community. How did we miss it? And yet everybody's like the Lone Ranger, you know, alone on January 1st, like, I'll make my resolution and I'll get there. I'll make it happen. I know I've not been able to do this before, but I'm just going to make it happen this time. And we know what happens when we try to make it happen. It just doesn't go so well for us. So, I need you to think right now, who is your community? Who are your angels? Where do you draw your power from? Do you have people that you could call 24/7 who will be there for you? Have you built a recovery community? If the answer is yes, congratulations, lean into it. Lean into it. Find new ways to connect with these people. And if the answer is no, I've got something for you. Really. So hang out to the end of this call. We've got a solution to that. But you want to be around community, and not just community, but in this case, a very special kind of community. I refer to it as a sangha, a sacred sangha. Now, this is a community of people who are dedicated to everyone's success. By success, we mean moving beyond addiction and thriving in your life, living on purpose, being excited to be alive, moving beyond negativity, beyond depression, beyond fear, beyond anxiety, and living a life of giving and serving and meaning and fulfillment at every level. That's what we mean by success. So that's the kind of community that we want to be a part of, where people are finding that kind of success in their life, just like Recovery 2.0. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So this is the number one suggestion when we're making our resolutions, our intentions. We need a community. So be thinking about that right now, okay? Number two, I spoke about it earlier, be specific. Be really specific for yourself. This is about your heartfelt intention. Make it yours. What do you want? You know what I want? One thing I want this year, truly, I want I want to be engaged in a process, what I call ongoing, never-ending, ongoing sort of meditative awareness. So what that means is I have to do certain things to be working at meditative awareness in my life. It will affect everything in my life. It will affect the way I think, the way I speak, the things that I do in the world and how I do them. It will affect my relationships. And I'm not looking to be perfect with that. I'm excited about learning more and more about that idea. And so I can put myself into that. It's exciting for me. It's actually not something that's hard. I mean, the success of it, of really developing a more and more meditative mind, I know that it comes by doing small things in strategic places over time. But that's like an intention for me. I have an intention to play and learn to play music on the piano. I've had this intention for a long time. I know what to do. And so now it's about organizing myself to be able to do it. That's a specific thing. And you know what's even more specific? I'd like to play one particular piece of music. How about that for I'd like to learn how to play one particular song, and then I'll see where it goes from there. But that's an example of a goal that would get me to do the bigger goal of learning to play the piano if I just focus on this one song. Do you understand the strategy of that? Because for me, that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's something that I can achieve. And then I can go out and get the direction on how to achieve it. Okay, so connecting with people in a community, and then being specific, really specific with what you want in your heart. And that will help a lot. Okay, so let's talk about more small steps, someone is asking. So with recovery, for example, let's just take, so recovery to me depends on where you are on the path. Let's say you're new to recovery and you're learning about addiction and you want to stay sober, but it's been challenging for you, but it's really important, and you recognize this is either, at least this is a danger to my happiness, this could be a danger to my life. If you're in that place, then a small step would be to go to a 12-step meeting. Go to one of our Recovery 2.0 meetings or any other 12-step meeting that's appropriate for you. That's a small step. I'll go to the meeting. I'll feel the vibe of everybody at the meeting. And I'll go back to that meeting each day for a little while. That's one thing that you could do. As opposed to, I'm going to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. I'm going to read the entire book in the next 3 days because I want to get this thing. I want to get this thing now, right? What we know is that's an addictive approach to solving addiction, and it doesn't work. So small steps. A small step in recovery, picking up the phone and calling somebody in recovery and saying, I need help. Or picking up the phone and just saying to somebody, I'm having a rough day. Or saying to somebody, I'm having a great day, how are you? And connecting with other people in recovery. One of the most simple steps that you can take, and again, we're going to talk about it, and this is going to sound self-serving, but this is not about me or about our community. We benefit from you being a part of what we're doing. Your energy is important. You will benefit from us. We will benefit from you if you join the Recovery 2.0 membership. It's simple, and it's unbelievably accessible to all. So that's an example of a small step that you can take, okay? And if you're talking about, losing weight, or you're talking about, building strength into the body, there's all kinds of regimens that you can get involved in, which are small steps to help you move forward. I've been, for some reason this year, I've been working with a lot of people who struggle with bulimia or eating, binging, and emotional eating, and they're struggling, and they feel like they're in a body that's overweight and unhealthy, and they don't feel good about that. And so a small step there is I've said to them, have you ever considered working with a nutritionist? Somebody who can coach you a little bit for a few weeks So you get sort of some ideas, new ideas, and you put some new ideas into play. And most people are like, is that even possible? You know, like it didn't occur to them. And I'm not sure what it is. If people think, oh, this is an addiction, I can only solve it with the 12 steps, or I'm going to need massive therapy. Surely those things are helpful. But sometimes a small step is just calling a nutritionist and setting up a consultation, you know, and maybe you spend $100 on that nutritionist, but it's the best money you've ever spent. And they start to get you moving down a road. So that's a small step. That goes under the heading of direction, right? Finding the right direction. Okay. So that's about being specific, finding the right thing for you. And finally, I'm just gonna say this. The one day at a time philosophy is no joke. That is a real deep piece of spiritual wisdom. At the end of the day, each of us is working on being more truthful, more authentically us, more connected, more positive, more present, more aware, more useful and engaged in the world. I think that's what we all want. It feels good when you're doing that, yeah? So what we're talking about is making steps toward those goals. And the only way that we can do it that I can see is by adopting a one day at a time philosophy. If we look too far out in the future, we become overwhelmed. If we bring our mind into this manageable chunk of let me work on today, not only do we begin to build skills that help us to make the most out of a day, which is a building block for a week, which is a building block for a month, which is a building block for a year, which is a building block for your life. So we work in this 24-hour system. And we begin to build routines. I can't think of anything more important than committing to a few new routines a week. Simple things. You know, I'm going to go out and take a 60-minute walk once a week. And I'm going to make it be a joyful thing for me. I'm going to be in nature. It doesn't matter, summer, winter, spring, fall. I'm going to bundle up if it's cold or whatever is appropriate. I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a walk. That's a beautiful thing. That changes your frequency. That changes everything when you give yourself that kind of time. So it's all about organizing ourselves within a 24-hour period and beginning to become skillful at wielding that strategy. We wield the strategy of a successful 24 hours, and then we build upon it. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense to you so far? Okay, good. All right. Thank you so much for the feedback, and I'm grateful. Super. So let me keep going on here. Okay, so if you get the one day at a time thing and understand it's not just for people who are only trying to stay sober, although it's also very effective there. If your goal is get through today sober, I mean, that's an incredible goal. And my hat is off to you. My hat is so off to you for that goal. So your job becomes, on this day, tonight, I go to bed, I put my head on the pillow, clean and sober. And come what may, I had a successful day today. Because I know that if I'm not clean and sober, I can't really make any forward progress. So even if this was a tough day and you know, it wasn't the prettiest, if you got through it clean and sober, great. And if you didn't, what can you learn from that? Rather than being guilty and feeling ashamed of yourself, what can you learn Who can you talk to? Where's the help going to come from? How can you plug in? So routines, so important. Here's the last part of our talk tonight. Here are the big suggestions of the year. Okay, big suggestions of the year. Start a yoga practice. That's a suggestion. On a daily basis, treat your body to some stretching, some breathing, and what we call Kriya. Write this down. The word is spelled K-R-I-Y-A. Kriya. Kriya is a particular approach to yoga. And I have found that it is the most helpful approach for people in recovery from addiction and those people who want to create lasting transformation in their life quickly. It's not a shortcut. I don't like to call it a shortcut. I would just say it's very precise and very effective. The word Kriya means evolutionary action, meaning an action that you take which furthers your personal evolution. So Kriya, we do these sets of yoga, which are referred to as Kriyas. And in these Kriyas, there are movements, postures, breath work. We use different mantra. We use all the most advanced yogic techniques to bring about personal evolution. So start a yoga practice and particularly get involved in some of this kind of yoga that we're talking about, that we practice in Recovery 2.0. I want to also encourage, start a meditation practice, which will come out of your yoga practice, just like we do in our community. Expose yourself to regular, live, educational and experiential events. I'll give you an example. We're doing one right now. So I'm serious in asking this question. Is this helpful for you? Is this helpful for you? Is this inspiring for you? Can this be something that you bring into your life that could be useful for you as you move forward through this year? Okay, I'm getting a lot of yeses, only yeses, and thank you for that. So imagine if this is something that is a regular part of your life. Imagine that you just did this every Monday night of the year. So for the next 51 Mondays, there's 51 Mondays left in the year after this one. What if this was a routine that you did, where you could hear from me, other recovery experts, naturopathic physicians, scientists, spiritual leaders and teachers, yoga teachers, nutritionists, on and on. That we all agree that that would be a helpful thing for us to bring into our life. So that's an example of the kind of educational and experiential event that you could do. Imagine you could get in front of a therapist, a really, really wise and well-known therapist who worked with groups of people, just like I am right now, but somebody who was skilled in the psychological part of addiction, helping with understanding about relationships and overcoming trauma, understanding attachment styles in relationship, avoidant, this kind of thing, and being able to move into more empowered and healthy relationships throughout the year. That would be a value to you? Would that be something that would be a good thing to bring into your life in recovery? Imagine that you could connect with physicians, naturopathic doctors who thought outside the box, who really understood addiction and was able to direct you in understanding the causes of disease. Problems like sugar levels in the blood sugar levels, imbalances in hormones, and being able to move into a much healthier body and being able to overcome the challenges that we've had in changing, not because we were weak, but because we really didn't understand the mechanisms at play. Now that would be a value if you could bring that kind of thing into your life. And imagine being in front of a recovery coach once a week. For the next 51 weeks, you get to be in front of a therapist, a naturopathic doctor, scientists, recovery experts, and a coach that could answer your questions directly one-on-one. And now imagine you could access a library of Kriya, that word, evolutionary right action, of yoga sets that could take you through the entire year. And not only that, you could engage in live yoga classes every week. These are the kinds of experiential and educational opportunities that are available to you right now, every single week in the Recovery 2.0 membership. This is what we do. All of those things that I just named and so much more is what we do every year in the membership. So the big suggestion of the year is get involved in yoga meditation, get involved and expose yourself to regular, educational, inspirational, live events. Definitely, get yourself around wise teachers who can sincerely guide you beyond the blockages. And most important, what's the number one? I've said it twice tonight. The number one thing, get yourself around a community of people that are interested in living a great life for themselves and for you. Now, all of that exists in the Recovery 2.0 community. And so the big takeaway, you need to take care of your mind, take care of your body, and take care of your spirit. And the way that we do this, we adopt a one day at a time approach. We get around each other. We get engaged in our yoga, our meditation, our recovery work, our spirituality work. And by the way, there's not one way here. At Recovery 2.0, we honor all paths to recovery. This is a completely open, supportive, loving, optimistic approach to overcoming addiction once and for all, one day at a time, and thriving in your life. So the very special offer that I have for you this first Monday night of 2021 is come and join our membership, and it's 30 days free. 30 days free. No strings attached. You just come and experience all the goodness that we're going to go through this whole month of January together. Absolutely free. Just come and see for yourself and check in. Stacy will put the join membership link in the chat bar here. If you join, whenever you join in the month of January, starting today, you'll get 30 days free. So nothing holding you back. If you want to dig into new routines, getting exposed to live, powerful, experiential and educational events, access a library of yoga, both recorded and live every week. Want to learn a little bit more about health, nutrition, improving your relationship with food, learn more about relationships, show up more powerfully in the world. If these things are interesting to you and you really want to see your 2021 blossom in this absolutely beautiful way, then please simply come and join us. And you know what? At the end of that 30 days, if it doesn't resonate with you, then that's okay. You've had 30 great days, and you will have given it a try and seen where it can go for you. The most important thing is, especially this year, take me up on this offer and pour yourself fully into this life and see what could come out the other side. See what happens when you're supported by a community. See what happens when you're engaged in regular new routines, which are creating new neural pathways in the mind, new ways of being in the body, new ways of speaking and showing up. Come and see for yourself. So finally, there's one last thing I wanted to say, and it is this. There's been a lot of fear this year, and so I wanted to finish on this note. Fear is a natural part of the human condition. Please write this down. Fear is a natural part of the human condition. I'll say it again. Fear is a natural part of the human condition. Okay? Focus on fear is not. Fear is a part of the human condition. Focus on fear is not. We have a choice, and we have an opportunity to come together, and there's no question that we are stronger as a community than we are alone. Come out of the rain. Come into community. Leave the fear at the door. And let's work on it together, one day at a time, throughout this year. So much opportunity. So much possibility. Now, this part is up to you. Join us. Come and see for yourself. Take advantage of this 30 days free. And let's do some great work and have so much fun this year, this month and this year and beyond. Okay, you guys. So much love. I hope you got so much out of this tonight. I'm so grateful for your attention and your time and for your immense positivity. Even though I try not to focus on it, I see that the chat bar has been so uplifting and positive. And many of the people here in this chat bar, by the way, are members. Many of these folks. And they can tell you themselves what membership has meant to them. So come and join us, and bless you in all your efforts. So bring the palms together at the heart center. The way that we close every Recovery 2.0 meeting is with a particular prayer. I'll say the words, and if you feel compelled and you feel like you want to, repeat them back. Otherwise, just hum along and just be in the feeling of this prayer. Allow the eyes to close. And let's inhale together to begin. Universe, put me in the places you want me to be, with the people you want me to be with, doing the things you want me to do. Thank you for the joys and the challenges of my life. Amen and Satnam. Much love to each of you. It's Monday evening, and I will look forward to seeing many of you this month in our membership and beyond. And be safe and be sound, and know that everything's okay. Everything's okay, and that we're on the right path. Much love, and until we see each other again, be well.